The only people who don't want to disclose the truth are people with something to hide.
Know about questions like, is he a Christian, is he a Muslim, all the rest. Even
was he
going
born
to
in this country?
Right. Or you can even take it farther and say, what about evolution and shots to get your children immunized? And it's important, I think, at this point to simply say to the disparate left and right elements in the society, we're done with this divisive talk. But you don't see, I think now, a number of Republican politicians saying, you know what, I'm not going to pander to anybody. I'm just going to tell you the truth.
But Steve, Governor Walker then sort of punches back on Twitter and says, enough with the media's gotcha game. Is that a gotcha question?
You know what? He punched back in the interview. I think if you look at the entire part of the interview that the Washington Post published, the actual news there was Scott Walker taking on that line of questioning, saying, look, I'm not going to concern myself with this trivial stuff that you're talking about. He said, I don't know. It was the same response that he gave when he talked about Rudy Giuliani.
I was about to bring up,
there's a
do you have any
huge double standard
on the former New York mayor saying Obama doesn't love us?
And he said, I don't know. He's made it clear that he doesn't want to engage in this kind of discussion. Now, maybe he won't be able to pull that off, but there is a huge double standard. And what's been interesting over the weekend is that two, I think, serious mainstream media journalists have admitted this double standard. Ed O'Keefe from the Washington Post said it yesterday on MSNBC. George Stephanopoulos today on This Week said there is a huge double standard. Republicans are asked about these things far more than Democrats. And I think the answer for that, the explanation is obvious. Journalists, if this is the ideological spectrum here, journalists are mostly over here. So things that strike when a Republican or a conservative says something that might be an outlier but might speak to the Republican base, it strikes journalists as outrageous in a way that it doesn't if it comes from the left.
But of course, Cheryl, if Governor Walker had said, of course he's a Christian, then there's no story and no controversy.
Well, that's true. If that was a gotcha question, then that was a pretty mild gotcha question. He better be prepared for a lot tougher questions than that. But I think Steve's right that this was something that, you know, it tells a lot, the way he answered the question and the way the media reacted to it does tell a lot about the atmosphere, but that's part of the game.
Yeah, but that's the thing is, you know, whether you think it was a fair question or not, Scott Walker seems to have the view that he's going to talk about what he wants to talk about. All politicians want to do that, but whether it's evolution or what so-and-so said, you got to have a way to kind of hit that pitch.
More interesting to me is the fact that his press person called to amend what he said afterward. That tells you a lot about a candidate and a campaign, that maybe he answered honestly the first time and then thought better of it. Who knows?
Right.
The only people who don't want to disclose the truth are people with something to hide.